You think that's okay, Toma? It should, right?
It looks like you see a lot of the ground, but you could always go. So that thing's not stable? Hold on, you guys go ahead and stand right here. Oh, I need to do this too. I realize it's 6:32, but we're ready for you already get Rose in bed? I don't know where. Mama, if you do a live, you can live stream from my Facebook. If you just happen to want to sit here and just hold it on your lap. Or record it and then we'll show it. Alright. It's just like holding with my hand. Then take pictures. I'll take a picture. And if you want to do it with your phone. Literally cannot see anything. Everything's so small.
You guys gonna want to sit down?
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
Hey, Bill, can you hear me back there? Yeah? Very good. Okay, I guess we were waiting on Mr. Velez. He's a candidate for Commissioner District 4. Alberto Velez. I guess he's not able to make it, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to introduce each of the candidates based on their position on the ballot. And at that time, they're going to give their platform, and that'll be up to 5 minutes that they have. After everybody is done with their platform, we will give 3 minutes allotted for each answer from a question from the public. Thank you. Okay, let's get this started. Are we ready? Thank you, everybody, for being here. We really felt it necessary to engage with the candidates for the city council. I call them council, the commissioners here. Okay, I'm taking off the mask so y'all can hear what I'm saying. Thank you. All right. Anyway, we felt the Democratic Women's Group felt that it would be a great idea to engage with the City Council candidates, commissioners. Candidates for commissioners. We have Z. Gowan for City Commissioner at Large B. We have Erasmus Castro, City Commissioner at Large B. We have Jessica Puente Bradshaw, City Commissioner District 3. We have City Commissioner District 4, Ben Lees. And that's our lineup. So we will start with Mrs. Rose M.Z. Gowan with her platform.
Thank you. So if I stand here, it's okay? Yeah. Okay. Can everybody, yeah, you can hear me. So good evening. What a beautiful evening. And this is a very special place for so many reasons. This is a very special place for so many reasons. I have to give a shout out to my husband, who was the parks chair when this park was conceived and designed for the veterans of Brownsville. I have to give another shout out for my dad, who's listed on one of the plaques behind us as a Korean veteran. And he's here with us, as I'm sure so many of the other names are enjoying this lovely evening in Brownsville. And this feeling is a lot about what I love about Brownsville, having grown up here in a very special place, amongst very special people, surrounded by very special family members. And I grew up wanting to be a doctor, and I was, or I am, and I never really thought much about politics until I found out about how health and the lack of health affects a community's economy and progressiveness and workforce readiness. And I found out that 1 in 3 of our people are diabetic, and 1 in 10 in the nation are diabetic. That means pretty much, if nothing was changed, every child in Brownsville should expect to become diabetic in adulthood. And that was just unacceptable for me, because if all of those people were diabetic, how could they ever hold a job? How could companies ever look at Brownsville to locate here if they knew the workforce was so affected? How were we in an area with low access to health care and very low levels of uninsured people ever going to afford the diabetic care that we were facing with that type of number? Not a lot of people, in fact, very few people really understand the economic relationship between the lack of health and the economy in terms of all of what I've just said. And I didn't feel that anyone was listening or understanding that. So I decided to put myself out there, and I was elected on a platform for that. And I have been so very blessed to have a team of people around me who understand, who listen, who have learned, who have taught me about these relationships that are so poorly understood by many people. And we've accomplished a great deal. In fact, now only 1 in 4 of our people are diabetic. And although that may not sound like a big number, it represents thousands of people in our community that are no longer diabetic or don't have to grow up expecting to be diabetic. And there are no vibrant places that are teeming with economic development and populated by the entire population being sick. So I didn't want that to happen in our community. And thankfully, we are making changes, protecting the environment, building trails, building people-friendly spaces, health-promoting spaces like the renovation of Market Square, and so forth. Engaging in smart development and smart management of the funds that the city has, because there aren't ever enough funds to go around, and there aren't ever enough funds to cover every single need. So we have to use them wisely, smartly, grow smartly, and we have to recruit businesses, and we are. And we are also working on things like broadband capability across the city for everyone. And that would mean that we can bring healthcare access and telehealth to everyone that is not available now. And boy, we sure needed it during COVID, and we still do. the ability to access a healthcare provider on your internet when you don't have any other means of contacting them is enormous. Not to mention education. How would our education system have gone on without the ability to communicate with the internet? And yet still, there are gaps, and we are working very hard to correct them. So this feeling of freshness and life and green that you feel here is a vibrant feeling, and we want more of that. And I thank the community for having faith in me. I know they know me to be a person of integrity and science, and I know that they know I have their best interests at heart, and I'm not just someone who throws stones, behaves ugly, or works for myself. So thank you very much, and thank you for having this forum.
Sorry about that. That was excellent. Are you able to hear back there? Yeah? Okay. Next is City Commissioner at Large B candidate Erasmus Castro.
Well, first of all, thank you all so much for coming out today. It is a beautiful day, and I want to thank Democratic women for holding this. One of the things that I think that we spoke about earlier this week is how very few opportunities we all had to get together and to have this type of forum. And it's always our hope to have as many opportunities allotted to us in order to be out here and share what is the reason as to why we have opted to run. My name is Erasmus Castro, and I have I tend to be very few in words, and I'm going to do my best this evening to express some. Thank you. I was born and raised here in the city of Brownsville. I did all my schooling here at BISD, public education. I do have a bachelor's degree in Christian studies from Austin Graduate School of Theology. And I honestly never considered myself a politician, or never thought of myself as someone that would ever want to seek elected office. And I think a lot of people would be surprised at that after so many races that I've ran. It's a lot of races that I ran. But one of the reasons why I think that a lot of us, opt to run for office is because, it is one of our rights. It is one of our rights to, to put our name in the hat and, let voters choose. I think one of the things that we want out of elected officials is not to have someone that wants to run against them. One of the things that I've always shared publicly to a lot of folks is you don't run against someone who is actually doing a great job. You hope that they continue on with what they're doing. I'm very proud that the city commissioners, they opted to place on the ballot term limits. I think it's very, very called for and very, very needed. It's not only needed in the city of Brownsville, it's needed in all aspects. I think a lot of us are tired of dynasties going on and on with continual service, and it's got to stop. And I'm very, very proud that Brownsville is at the forefront of it, and hopefully other entities out there opt to do the same. And again, I'm very, very proud that it is on the ballot, and I hope that everyone here tonight, anyone that's listening, does also encourage individuals to vote yes. We need term limits. And again, that is one of the reasons why I've decided to run for City Commissioner at Large B again, because I agree with my opponent that individuals shouldn't serve more than 2 terms. My opponent opted to place that on the ballot, and I'm very, very proud that she did. Why my opponent has opted, not to step aside and let other individuals serve, I guess that is completely up to my opponent. But one of the things that I think that we opt to run is because we feel that there's something lacking in the direction as to where we're going. And one of the things that all of us here today could agree to is that we haven't grown as much as many of us think that we should. And a lot of people get upset because sometimes we make comparisons in regards to the economic growth of other cities that are our neighbor cities. I just came from Monterrey, Nuevo León, and I had to drive. I usually take the bus, but I had to drive because I had to fix my muela with a friend of mine who's a dentist. And such a shame that here in the city of Brownsville we don't have the opportunity to fly direct to Monterrey or to other cities. And congratulations to cities like McAllen who have direct flights. And now, congratulations to the city of Harlingen who have direct flights to Monterrey. Passing on here, we see the traffic going to Edinburgh, and we see Topgolf, and we see all these things going on throughout the valley, and we yearn for them here in the city of Brownsville. We want something different. We want something more. We want economic development. We want our kids to stay in Brownsville. We don't want our kids to have to leave here because they can't find any jobs. And unfortunately for us, how have we grown in the past 12 years? I mean, are our kids finding employment here that would give them a good life in the city of Brownsville? And the answer is no. Our children, our grandchildren, they have to seek employment elsewhere, away from Brownsville. And, we're all about family here. We want our children here. We want them to stay. Guys, we run because we want to give you a choice, and I hope that you exercise that choice and that right May the 1st. Thank you all so much.
Hey, we take what we can get, right? Okay, now we have. Hello? Okay, next is City Commissioner, District 3 candidate Jessica Puente Bradshaw.
Hello, hello. Like forward.
Well, that only
Yeah, I'll keep it. I'll be behind it. That way I can be behind it like this, and then that way I'm not. You know what I mean? Okay, so just keep going. I'll tell you where to stop. Thank you, Teresa. Keep going, baby. Because I think that way it'll get closer to everybody, and then I'm not fighting the feedback. There we go. Is that better, everybody? Woo! Thank you. My name is Jessica Puente Bradshaw. I'm running for City of Brownsville City Commissioner District 3. District 3 is one of the largest districts in Brownsville. And if you live in the McDavid and Roosevelt area and just kind of work your way up north towards Olmito, between the expressway and Paredes, and in some cases on the other side of the expressway, but anywhere between the expressway and Paredes, or if you know people there, that is your district. If you're not sure, go to somebody wearing a purple shirt and they'll let you know because they have the maps. So again, District 3. I'm going to read a little bit of my history because I know we are limited on time, but I also will speak from the heart, and I hope that the words that I share with you will resonate because they are the words of my heart. My name is Jessica Puente Bradshaw. I'm a resident of Precinct 97, Los Ebanos subdivision. I was born in Matamoros, Tamaulipas in 1974, moved to Brownsville at the age of 3.5 with my mother, and have been a resident of Brownsville ever since, only except when I ended university out of state and started my careers out of state. I attended UTB-TSC, and I graduated from the University of Utah with a Bachelor of Fine Arts, and I also gained my teaching certification from the state of California. From 1997 to 2002, I lived in San Jose, California with my husband of now 26 years come this April. Give him a hand. That's a lot of patience. And I have two wonderful children, my son Christopher, who's going to be 19 this year, and my daughter who's going to be 18, and she doesn't believe it, and neither do I. Thank you. Now, I began, after I got my degree, I began as a middle school English, well, it's in California, it's called language arts reading and social studies teacher, focusing on ESL education in a low-income community and low-income school district. Loved the middle school students. But my favorite moments were when I was an adult education teacher, where I taught adults from all walks of life computer literacy, English as a second language, and naturalization classes, my favorite. These were individuals who were looking to become citizens of the United States, of which I also became a citizen of the United States, a naturalized citizen in 1998. So my background is quite diverse. Thank you, sir. I feel for the people of Matamoros, of Mexico, but I also love this great nation, and I love my city of Brownsville. I consider myself a helper, a communicator, and a listener by heart. That's what I do. That's what I've always done. That's why I was a teacher, although I've had other careers. I'll talk about that if I have time. And because of that, because I am a listener and a helper by heart, I'm here because I want to help the community. I love the city. I lived outside of the city, and I came back. And unfortunately, in some ways, Brownsville was still the sleepy little town. As you know, Erasmus said, and as we've heard, it's been really difficult to kind of get us going. Doesn't mean that Brownsville is a bad city. It just means that we want more. We deserve more. This is a great city, and we deserve the leadership that will make it even better. Ladies and gentlemen, my loyalties are to the city of Brownsville. My loyalties are to you, your family, your neighbors, your neighborhood. This great city and community deserves leadership that represents your needs. It is not enough to be told that we can't afford it. There's not enough money. Wait your turn. We have a budget in the city of Brownsville, and for those of you who were here early enough to get one, and we're passing them out, it's a handout that I created showing images directly from the City of Brownsville website of how money is spent. So when I talk to individuals who say, Jessica, why is my road a mess? Jessica, how come when I call the city, I'm getting terrible customer service? Is that a problem of the city, or is that a problem of the leadership? Ladies and gentlemen, too much time has been squandered. Your voice has not been projected when it comes to the city and its leadership and them working for us. Ladies and gentlemen, I am here to tell you that Jessica Puente Bradshaw is here to work for you. I will be your full-time commissioner. So please, thank you for being here. And I appreciate your vote at the end of all of this. Thank you very much.
Okay, now we have City Commissioner District 4, Ben Neese.
Crank this up a little bit. Greetings, everyone, and thank you for coming out tonight to this event, and thank you to the Cameron County Democratic Women's Organization for having me here. And it's a pleasure to be here to face the constituents and to be accountable to you, because every 4 years, this is what we have to do. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself first, and then I'll tell you some of the stuff that I've been working on during the last 4 years. So I was born here in Brownsville, 1955, and to Benjamin Lafayette Neese and Ruby Hinojosa Neese. And shortly after I became 5 years old, unfortunately, my parents divorced, and I was raised by my single Hispanic mom. And so I can tell you, I know what it means to be worried about how your mother, for example, is going to make ends meet for her children. And she inspired me so that my children wouldn't have that fear to become a lawyer. So I worked hard. I graduated from Brownsville High School as an Eagle, Golden Eagle, in 1973. I started going to college at Texas Southmost College, and in around 1975, I transferred to St. Mary's University, where I ended up getting my political science degree, Bachelor of Arts in Political Science. After that, I was admitted to the law school at St. Mary's and got my law degree in 1981. Right after that, I came back to Brownsville and I began practicing law. And luckily, in 1984, just about 4 years after I had graduated, I was lucky enough to be appointed city municipal judge, or the municipal judge for the city of Brownsville. And I served there for 32 years, up until 2016. And 6 months to the day after I retired in 2016, I was elected to this position in 2017. During that time, and during this year will be 40 years that I've been practicing law in October. I also taught law and taught political science and government at Texas Southmost College and the University of Texas at Brownsville. So I think I know government pretty well, and I've tried to exercise that knowledge in carrying out my duties as your city commissioner for District 4, which, by the way, is the west side of Brownsville. It's south of Ringgold, including the historic downtown district, and west of Central and west of the Expressway. So that's my constituency for District 4. I want to continue serving the city, and I'm going to give you a little example of some of the things I've done during this time. When I got in, a major reorganization of the city's administration began taking place. We established an audit and oversight committee, which had not ever been established or in operation, to watch over not only the departments of the city, but all the organizations that are satellite departments or satellite organizations for the city of Brownsville. And that's including things like PUB, the Greater Brownsville Incentives Corporation, the Brownsville Community Investment Corporation, and other departments within the city. We established a city auditor that was independent of the city manager. Believe it or not, the auditor was under the city manager, who he was supposed to be auditing when I first got in. No longer the case. By ordinance now, the city auditor is independent, answers straight to the commission. We also established an ethics commission, which, believe it or not, expired after the first year that it was instituted, and it's now part of the city ordinances, okay? And we established a charter review committee that did extensive work to try to bring 10 amendments, is what they ended up with the city of Brownsville, that's going to be on the same ballot as our election. And I'll go into that a little bit more, but it's very important for you all to know where each candidate stands on those amendments, which like I said, I'll go into a little bit. One of my greatest challenges was downtown revitalization. When I got in, well, it's a long list. Let me just say, I want to continue serving you, and I'll try to get into as much as I can after this. But thank you for being here, and I'm ready for your questions. I'm just getting started.
You were just getting warmed up.
That's right.
All right. That's great that they have a lot to tell us, a lot of information for us. Okay, that was our candidate lineup. So right now what we will do is go ahead and take questions from anybody in the audience. Have a question for any one of the candidates. They have 3 minutes to respond.
I just want to ask Ben to continue with the amendments.
Okay. We can do that. We're flexible.
Well, 3 minutes.
Okay. So there are 10 amendments on the ballot. Number 1 is term limits for the mayor. Number 2 are term limits for the commissioners. If the community passes these, then no commissioner can serve. No commissioner can serve more than 2 terms, but they can turn around and run for mayor and serve another 2. And if somebody runs for mayor and serves 2, they can actually run for commissioner. And it has happened. Henry Gonzalez came back and became a commissioner after he had already served as mayor. So that gives 4 terms in total for somebody who might want to do it. Now, number 3, which is a little bit dearer to me, is increasing the term of the municipal judge to 4 years. And there's a reason why, because the municipal court is independent, just like the judicial branch is independent. That branch shouldn't be pressured, for example, by the city manager, who's like the president, or the city commission, which is like Congress, to bring in more money, because that means they're going to go out and give you tickets to try to raise revenues for the city. So 4 years is a long time without having to worry every 2 years, oh, I need to now start, kissing butt to the city manager, right? Or I'm not going to get reappointed, because the city manager appoints them. The other thing is we're doing some amendments regarding the Civil Service Commission, which is also important. And we're trying to change the way that candidates can be nominated. We want to add, in addition to the 100 signatures, or now it's down to 54 because now we're following state law, but state law also allows you to pay a fee. So you can either pay a fee or go get your signature and be on the ballot, and it makes ballot access easier for more people to be able to run, and you have a greater variety of people to draw from, right? The other one is very important because it has to do with cooperation between the city, corporations, and other commissions with the city commission. And 10 is that PUB has to communicate and be in contact with us and collaborate, because we had this siloing effect going on where PUB thought they were independent, GBIC thought they were independent, and they weren't accountable to the city. We had to force them to recognize that they were city departments, basically. So this strengthens that. So these are the main ones. I urge everyone to vote yes for all the amendments. So that's my position on that issue.
Can I ask a question? Okay, the question is, how can we access those? Are they on the website?
Okay, well, they've been posted last Sunday. This is one of my complaints about the administration. This should be published almost every day. The Herald should be doing stories on this. It's on our website, but our website is so complicated to get through that it's just really hard. But Brownsville, Texas Cares, and the Brownsville website should have those, okay? And I posted on my page, my Facebook page, and on my campaign commissioner page.
Okay.
So,
there's several places where we can find it.
Yes, there should be, yes. And it's very important to study it. And like I said, I encourage yes vote on all those.
Thank you.
I think it's important that you find out every candidate, not only the ones that were, responsible enough to be here today, but every other one. You should ask them where they stand on these amendments, especially the audit committee.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, we had our own list where our questions were the way that the propositions are presented. It's like Proposition 7. Shall Article 2, Section 21, Parks and Playgrounds of the City Charter amended to repeal sections established by ordinance? What are the pros, cons, and physical impact of any? Rose, would you know? Would you know what that answer is?
It was my understanding when they explained all of those to us that was
Louder.
It was my understanding when they explained all of these to us, that was almost like a housekeeping to clean up the ordinance and keep it current. So it's a good thing because it modernizes and brings the ordinance up to what it should be.
I'd like to comment on that question. I actually went through those propositions and I read them and I couldn't make sense of them whatsoever. And I don't expect that anyone here could make sense of them if they tried.
So I called the city secretary, and she told me that the communications department of the city of Brownsville was working on some language that they could distribute to the city that would make it a lot easier to understand. I don't know when that communication will go out. Like I said, I have reached out to the city secretary because this is unacceptable that any proposition would be written in such language that the voters could not understand. Now, to cover, thank you, to cover upon that, or to elaborate more on that. The city secretary, she was very kind and very thorough, and she did mention that there are things within the city charter and at the state level that maybe have some discrepancies. And therefore, I could go to the city charter and look through the sections and chapters and subsections, and then compare it to the Texas chapters and subsections, and then I would see where things could be crossed off, and that's what the changes would be. How many of us have time to go through 10 propositions, or even 8 or 5, and go ahead and do that work themselves? Absolutely not. And so I ask you that as voters, please do the same. Call the administrative offices, ask them to please help us understand this. Thank you.
You know, in many ways, I agree with that. And the thing is that these types of propositions, I'm told, have a legal way in which they need to be worded, and we don't have control over all of the wording. That's not an excuse, it's a fact. Should we explain it? Absolutely. I absolutely agree with you, and I will very, very quickly put something on my website as well to explain, in particular, that one, since it sounds very confusing. This is not the first charter review committee. Several years ago, we did engage and hold another charter review committee, and there were a few things that came out of that, some that didn't make it to the public, some that did. And this is the second charter review committee. And so there are quite a few attorneys working on that review committee to come up with language that is difficult to understand, granted. And you're right, we should explain it in a more clear way. But it's not because we're trying to be obtuse, it's because there are regulations that govern a lot of that.
Thank you, Rose, and thank you, Jessica. Yeah, because I'm with you all. I looked at these propositions and I was like, what? Like Proposition 4. Shall Article V, Section 16, emergency measures of the city charter be amended to align emergency measures with state procurement? It begs the question, as opposed to what? We don't have anything to reference. What are they talking about? What are the pros and cons? Any physical impact? We should know what the physical impact is. A lot of times changes don't have physical impacts. We should know that there is none, or that there will be, and approximately what they estimate. That would be transparent. That would just be educating the public. That way your voters can make an actual educated vote. I believe we may have somebody here. Yes, please. Yes, please. That would be great. I would really like to know.
This isn't to castigate anybody, but all the committee meetings of the Charter Review Committee were online. I mean, anybody could have attended every one of those meetings and seen exactly how they came about proposing these 10. Okay, there were 2 public hearings that the City Commission held, including a workshop by the Charter Review Committee, 2 of them, as a matter of fact, that if you tune in, you get all your answers. Okay, so it does take work to be an informed voter, and we need informed voters. Otherwise, you're just voting on a popularity contest. So, like I say, there's a little bit of work on your part too to find out, but it's all there. So there were several committee meetings with the Charter Review Committee. There was 2 hearings and 1 workshop that the City Commission held. So, but my problem, as I said, is this should be explained and promoted. We have a whole marketing department and a promotional department that's sleeping out there. Okay, so we have radio access, TV access, and we have access to newspaper and social media. So I'm with Rose, and I've already been all over them, telling them, you need to get this out here. This is too important to let people try to guess about what they're doing. But the one that you just spoke about, the emergency, some of these have to be aligned, just like the voting one. We can't make you get 100 signatures because the state law says it's 5% of the total of the last vote in the last election, and signatures are allowed. So we have to modernize our charter too. But anyway, that's what I wanted to add about that.
I appreciate that. Really was interested in knowing where these propositions were generated from, what departments and so forth. The Charter Review Committee. Okay, that's good to know. Okay, as it turns out, Mr. Velez, candidate for City Commissioner District 4, is here. He apologizes for being late, but we're going to go ahead and allow him to state his platform. He'll have 5 minutes. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for the invitation to the Cameron County Democratic Women for hosting this forum. It's great to see an actual in-person forum in this new world that we live in. Believe me, I want to see people. I see students all day long on the computer, and a lot of these kids they want to go out there. They want to be with the world. So I'm happy to see some of you out here. My name is Alberto Ellis, and I am an educator. I work at Porter High School. Been there for 15 years. Been working for BISD since 2004. This is going to be my 17th anniversary with BISD. Great employer. And this is my second time around running for city commissioner. And I've learned a lot from the first time to this one. And the reason why people ask me, why are you doing it? And it's like, because I love Brownsville. And I want to see Brownsville get better and bigger. And I think I have matured enough, and I have the best incentive and the best promoter at home, and it's my wife and my kids. And I want them to have a better city than what it already is. As an educator, I've seen what a lot of the students, as you probably know, Porter services a lot of the students in some of the poorest communities, the poorest neighborhoods in Brownsville. And a big chunk of them, about 30 to 40% of the students of Porter, live in District 4. They live in Ramireño, they live in Riverside, they live behind Sam Stadium. And I see these kids. My mom still lives out there. I grew up in that area. I went to Pace High School. And I see a lot of these kids still struggling, still gets flooded when it rains a lot. There's a lot of issues with lining. There's issues with streets just being neglected for years. My uncle lives in La Muralla, and his house pretty much looks the same as it looked 30 years ago. So there's some neighborhoods in District 4 that need some attention. And I think that I'm the person that can be out there and be the voice for some of these neighborhoods. And not just for District 4, but for the whole city. Because at the end, it is the 6 commissioners and the mayor that make the decisions. And I think I'm ready to represent the citizens of District 4, the citizens of Brownsville. A lot of big things are happening. I'm excited with the new airport. I went to see the inauguration, and it was awesome. It was an awesome event. SpaceX is a super controversial topic, but let me tell you, I think it's one of the greatest things that has happened to Brownsville. Not everything is great, but not everything is bad. And as my slogan says, the sky is no longer the limit, and I mean it, and it's literal. Eventually, these rockets are going to take off, and a lot of people see just the bad things about it. But as I speak to business owners, they're already seeing the benefit that SpaceX is bringing to our community. A lot of families are doing better. A lot of people are generating income for their homes, for their households, and they're having to enjoy better things and a better life. And the most important thing, I'm a family guy. And it breaks my heart to see that people have to leave Brownsville to go work in the oil rigs. And some of my best friends from high school, most of them are divorced now because they're away from home for too long. And you know, with time and space, family breaks apart. So some of these families now get to stay here. Dad gets to stay here. Mom gets to stay here. And I want to see more of that in the near future. I will be supporting everything that it's to improve our city and to make us a better place and a safer place. Thank you. Thank you for coming out here and for giving me this opportunity. And I want to thank all the candidates for doing this. It is tough, and being an elected official, it's even harder. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for coming. Well, we just have a few minutes left, maybe about 10, 15 minutes. Do we have any questions? Any more questions? Dr. Bill Berg has a question. Say your question.
Okay. Thank you very much for being here. My question is addressing something that was addressed already a little bit. It is space.
You want to come up to the mic and ask your question so they can hear, everybody can hear?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Because the wind was carrying it, I couldn't hear you.
Thank you very much. My question is about SpaceX and what is it bringing with it. It is bringing with it the promise or threat of gentrification. When I was hired, I came here in '97, hired to educate engineers for a needed pool of engineers to attract industry. Well, educating engineers here didn't help because nobody came to take up the pool. Our engineers all left, and they're well employed all over the state and the country. Now, what I was hired to do happened with Elon Musk. He came here and is hiring 1,000 engineers. However, they are such high-level engineers, nobody in Brownsville or the Rio Grande Valley come into his employ. They're coming from far away. And they don't want to live in Brownsville because Brownsville is not Austin, and it's not New York, and it's not Boston, and it's not where they want to live, where the action is. So it would be nice to bring the action to Brownsville. You bring the action to Brownsville, and we got $10 million just contributed by Elon Musk to upscale downtown a little bit, make it a nicer, better place, and that can happen. However, the concern is what will happen to the people who go to the bars and the restaurants downtown, the people who live near downtown. And my question is, somebody who lives south of Elizabeth Street or north of Adams Street lives in the streets. They have houses. They're paying taxes on the houses. If the taxes go up because the value of downtown goes up, those people will not be able to afford the taxes and will be forced to move. Too bad the city is gentrifying. Or is it possible for Brownsville, and I ask the commissioners, to cause the city taxes to be lowered, if that could happen, the property taxes to be assessed where they are for people who live there now. If you could sell your house for double its value to somebody, great, then the value goes up to the purchase price, and those people pay taxes based on the value of the house until they choose to move. That would keep the people who would otherwise be gentrified out of, and they have been out of New York, out of Cambridge, Massachusetts, out of Austin. They might stay in Brownsville and keep Brownsville a wonderful integrated population. Thank you.
That sounds like a really good idea. I think I've heard it before where a community has suspended any tax increases for people who are already in their homes for so many years, blah, blah, blah. And then, as Bill said, when they sell, then the next person who buys, that's when the higher taxes take effect. Now, Ken, you want You want to try to answer it? Well, I wanted to ask a commissioner who's already, is this possible? Is that something that's possible for Brownsville to do?
Okay, first of all, the Cameron County Appraisal District sets the tax rates, okay? They're the ones that appraise all the properties and set the tax rates accordingly. Now, balancing the question of do we shun SpaceX and all the global benefits that we get from that we're already realizing, or do we just let them go and let things stay the way they are? So I live downtown, and I moved there because I wanted to help develop it. I think Elon's 10 million should go to the TERS district, the tax increment reinvestment zone, and let them jumpstart and start working on public improvements downtown. Now, El Jardín is affordable housing. Samano Security Building is affordable housing. So the gentrification, it's not just the property values that goes up, it's who gets to live down there, right? So those fringe areas, yeah, they could be affected in years. I understand that. But the reward for following through with our own engineers and our own tax base that's going to grow from this, I think it should be embraced. Now, the housing authority, which would be addressing those exact gentrification issues, has been engaged. The Buena Vida neighborhood is a special neighborhood. They're doing projects. They're helping those individuals be able to, deal with everyday, living and all that. So they can benefit in a certain way, but if somebody wants to move in that area, then they have to pay the taxes. I mean, that's how it's going to grow, but it's not going to happen overnight. This is over a decade or more that things like this will happen. So there's still time to protect, but these are ideas that need to be developed, okay? And there's a lot of lessons that have probably been learned in the areas that Dr. Berg, specified. So it's our job to find out and work with the housing authority and the TERS district and other, the Main Street and other organizations to get them to work together to avoid this. And I know this is one of the biggest questions out there is a gentrification issue, but it's not insolvable and it's still on the ground floor. We're still in the early stages of the momentum for developing downtown. There was a study done within the last 2 years or last 3 or 4 years that analyzed the whole city and analyzed it on the basis of the tax that was generated in every area of the city. The biggest tax generating area was downtown. That's why we chose to put investment in downtown, because of the sales taxes and other property taxes. So it benefits the city. And it's important because we can't do nice things without money. And it's important to be able to do that. So I am embracing this whole thing, but I understand the cautions that we should take. And I think that I would work really hard to make sure that we find the proper solutions for that and to get our own people hired into this great industry.
Thank you. I would like to give each of the candidates an opportunity to answer on that, to touch on that. Rose, would you like to go? And then Jessica, and then Erasmus, and then Mr. Ballot.
Thank you. So SpaceX is a wonderful thing in terms of generating motivation for our children to go into STEM subjects, whether it be engineering or math or science. There's nothing more exciting to a child than watching a spaceship launch, or even just going to the beach and seeing a giant spaceship. That makes children and youth consider science roles of areas of career that they may not have otherwise considered. On the other hand, there are issues like gentrification. I totally agree. And there's nothing that's more important aside from in this world today than equity and equal access. And I totally agree. There have been I have SpaceX. I have an Airbnb suite at my house that used to be my mom's because she moved in when she had a stroke several years ago. And I've had several SpaceX engineers that have stayed for a month. It's interesting to talk to them. One was a welder that came to teach other locals how to weld and work at a place like SpaceX. I've enjoyed talking to some of the recent graduates from UTRGV that have gone into being PhDs in Germany and other places to get the expertise to come back here and work and find stars and all sorts of amazing things that those kids didn't have before. But with that, there comes a great deal of caution, like gentrification. We don't have the 10 million. We haven't seen the cash, right? We don't know whether it's going to be a lump sum or over a small amount of time. But I'll tell you, each of us is very much convinced that it shouldn't end at 10 million, but rather be a beginning. A person who owns a business and runs something that's so enormous and so well-funded should be an ongoing community partner and not just a one-time donor. And how that money gets used downtown remains to be seen. And I know that we'll be listening to the people as well and the shop owners and such. And a great reason why we invested in downtown to begin with was because there are no vibrant cities whose downtowns are a blighted place. There are no cities with a blighted downtown who are vibrant and growing. And we needed to create vibrancy in our downtown. And that's why we passed the funding to renovate Market Square. So will I personally be watching carefully? Yes, I would love an opportunity to sit down with their team and talk about some of the needs and priorities. And I hope one day they do sit down with the City Commission. But at this point, they haven't. But we are watching. I am.
Thank you, Rose. Jessica?
Thank you. When it comes to gentrification, which is basically having the property values increase so that it prices out existing homeowners to the point that they cannot afford their homes, or at least the taxes, and therefore lose their homes, I mean, that threat is possible in the city of Brownsville. I would like to add, however, that when you have a city that is thriving, when you have a community that has jobs for individuals, that we have the education and the resources to help those that might need the help through the economy, that is something that we can definitely do in the city of Brownsville. Now, is the threat possible? Absolutely. However, I'm not going to be a gloom and doomer, because what I would like the city to provide is that our economic opportunity for everyone. Now, can we as a city commission work with the county? Can we work with the school districts? Can we work with the housing authorities, and see what we can do to make sure that that doesn't happen to such a degree that many people are left out in the streets? Absolutely. You have my commitment as your city commissioner. I will always be active in that process. We have to look out for those who may have difficulty in getting the help that they need, or getting the opportunities that they might need to be able to prosper in the city. And to Rose's point, as far as SpaceX goes, right now we are a lot of us are feeling frustrated because we are seeing some of the impacts that SpaceX is causing our community. And I don't mean just the city of Brownsville, but also our county and our beaches. And my frustration as a citizen is that what are we doing to be able to sit at the table with SpaceX? Now, we can say, well, we'll wait for SpaceX to come and sit with us, but there's no need to wait for that. If we are an active commission, if we're an active community, we can request. And I don't know how easy, I'm not saying it would be easy, but I'm sure that Elon Musk or his representatives would be willing to sit with us and speak about some of the issues that are important to us. Because at the end of the day, what people want is a voice to represent them. And sitting quietly, patiently waiting for things to happen is not the way that I think a lot of us with that, that spirit of the South are willing to take things. In other words, we're not willing to take things sitting down. And so I commit to you to be a representative that will stand up and speak and ask to meet with somebody. I'm not going to wait to have someone ask me if it's okay to meet with them. No, absolutely not. I will be commenting, knocking on their door, reaching out to the representatives, because we do need to be represented. And I will definitely look out so that our community can prosper when we do have opportunities such as SpaceX that come our way. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Erasmus Castro.
Well, I share a lot of the concerns as Bill, and I've been very, very vocal about it. And one of the things that I think that we all wish is for the individuals that we have elected into office, to be as vocal as well. We need them to educate the community in regards to everything that they know beforehand of what's going on and what's going to affect the citizens of Brownsville, but affect the citizens of Brownsville as a whole. Unfortunately for us, as mentioned by our commissioners right now, everything seems to be focused on downtown, while our city is falling apart around us. It was mentioned in regards to taxes, and it's always somebody else's responsibility. It's never the city commission's responsibility. It's always someone else's responsibility. But we have no one out there fighting for your tax dollars. No one. And then when elections start to come around, everyone starts saying, oh, let's lower the tax rate. Let's lower the tax rate. It does absolutely no good for the people of Brownsville for individuals to lower tax rates when the appraisals are crazy. If you don't believe me, go check the appraisal values, the notes that y'all have received. I mean, $30,000. Individuals have been increased to $30,000 on property that they have made absolutely no improvements on. There have been no school openings. There have been no betterments anywhere in regards to the streets or hospitals or things that are coming to the city of Brownsville. And, we're talking about Boca Chica Beach, and we love Boca Chica Beach. We want to defend and protect Boca Chica Beach. And the commissioner mentioned in regards to having our kids go out there and sit out there while the rockets are going up in the air. It's not true, Commissioner. They're closing the access to Boca Chica Beach every other day. And I know it's the county's responsibility. I know it's the county. But who on the commission has been out there fighting for the rights of the children of the city of Brownsville in regards to being able to go out there and seeing the rockets go up in the air? We don't. We have commissioners that have a vested interest in Elon Musk, as was mentioned by a commissioner already, a vested interest in regards to their business, in regards to their B&Bs and their homes and everything other. But the question that we have to ask is, are the people of Brownsville benefiting as much as the sitting commissioners are right now? And the answer is absolutely no. And if we continue to have these commissioners on the commission over and over again, the city of Brownsville will continue to go into being stagnant, and we will not all reap the benefits and rewards of the individuals who have a vested interest in the downtown area. And I know that they'll say, well, the city of Brownsville as a whole has a vested interest. Well, it doesn't when our streets are riddled with potholes in District 3, in District 4. Guys, we need commissioners that will fight for you at every level, with the county, with Elon Musk, with businesses wanting to come in, that'll actually fight for your children and not make excuses and point fingers everywhere they go.
Thank you. Mr. Ballot, if you'll just, 1 moment, please. Bedis would like to respond to. Oh, you want to wait? Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I guess, well, number one, Dr. Berg, I spoke with you when you were running for the board. I was your student once, and an engineering physics class was horrible. I withdrew from that class. I knew I was a numbers guy, but not out of this world. So I ended up majoring in accounting, and I'm not an economist, but a lot of times we forget how our I guess our economic system works. And I'm not going to lecture, but I try to see points from an economic standpoint and the law of supply and demand and what is going on. We're still under pandemic, okay? And a lot of manufacturing basically halted, stopped nationwide, worldwide. So a lot of the things that we used to buy for $1 are now $2, $3, $4, $5, sometimes even $10. My truck, I get more money for it right now than when I bought it 2 years ago. I have a lot of equity in my 2019 pickup. And not to brag about it, but that's just supply and demand. what's happening right now. People are paying premium prices for cars, for houses, and for a lot of things out there. So when I saw the appraisal value of my property, I was also upset, right? But I understand. We have a whole system behind it. There's the new construction. I know that I cannot buy 3/4 of my house with what it's worth right now, because new houses with the same size are going for a lot more, $50,000-$60,000 more than what my house is appraised. It is to my benefit that my house went up. Not that I agree with the appraisal value, but I know if something was to happen to my house and the insurance company comes and tells me, hey, appraisal value says, appraisal district says your house is worth $150. Why should I give you $200? When I know the cost of replacing my house is probably going to be a lot more than that. So now, I do see that my truck will eventually depreciate drastically, but I do see that my home will retain its value, and in the long term, even more. Brownsville is growing. SpaceX is bringing more people to town. It took an outsider to invite others to come to our town, when for many years, Brownsville has been about sending kids off to college and maybe they never come back. Now we're trying to keep them. I want them to. I want them to love Brownsville and to make it a better place. Brownsville, it's growing and it's getting bigger and better. Gentrification, it just so happened that we're talking about it because SpaceX, the pandemic, the increase of prices and values, and it just all came together at the wrong time, at the wrong place. But eventually, things are going to settle down and get better. I am not extremely concerned about gentrification, but I'm not ignoring it because I know the potential for it to happen. It's there, but if we're smart about it, I know we can do good in this and take advantage of what is happening in our city and in our state and in our country at the current time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bella. It's past a few minutes past the time we were going to end. I'm going to allow Ben to go ahead and respond, and then that'll be it. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Y'all want to hang out for their would you like them to make closing comments? You guys want to stick around for a few more minutes? Okay, cool.
Okay, well, first of all, I categorically deny and dispute that I have any vested interest in SpaceX being here, okay? Since he was looking at me when he said it, I'm denying it, and I dispute that. Number two, Monsieur Castro is revealing his ignorance to you by thinking that we have some way to control SpaceX. And we don't. They're not even in the city limits. And they don't close Boca Chica every other day. They do it when they're test flying. And they're test flying now to get their rockets to be able to do regular launches. That's what it is, a test site. So I'm disputing that I have a vested interest. There's no closings every other day. I know it's a pain because they do close it, and we all have our dispute about that. But it's not a bad thing for them to be here. But we have no control over what they want to do with their 10 million or what they do out there. They're not in our city limits. You can go to the Cameron County Appraisal District and dispute or protest your tax increases. You can go to the county and complain about SpaceX and what they're doing all you want. Don't blame us for SpaceX. We should be happy they're here and getting us global attention.
Okay, we're done. No. I'm sorry. We're done. We have to end this. So I have other places to be as well. And I'm sure you all do. Rose, would you like to go ahead and give your closing statement? And then Jessica, and then Erasmus, and then Mr. Velez.
So thank you for having the forum. What a nice evening. I know that Bill enjoyed dinner here on the bench, and wouldn't it be great if we had more parks to be able to enjoy an evening like this? Thank you for listening. Certainly everybody has their own set of priorities, but certainly nothing can move forward without integrity and honesty and truly working for the people. And I'm going to join Ben in disputing that I have a vested interest in SpaceX because I have an Airbnb room that rented for $40 a night. That's not a vested interest. And by the way, tomorrow I'm selling my house, so that's over. And with the implication that my integrity is so poor that I would make decisions for the whole community over a $40 a night room is pretty ridiculous. Anyway, enough of that. A lot of people have had faith in me for many years, and I am grateful and humbled by that. I will continue to serve the city of Brownsville as long as they continue to have faith in me and beyond. And I did vote to put the term limits on the ballot twice, although personally, I don't particularly agree with term limits at this level and the local level. I do in other situations and other levels of the country. But I thought, and I still do, that it is a very complex issue and it's such a far-reaching issue that it shouldn't be up to me or you or another candidate, but it should be up to the community. And that's why I voted to put it on the ballot. So good night. Please be sure to vote. Don't vote alone. Take your friends, take your family. The voter turnout in Brownsville is traditionally not very good. Think about your future. Think about the integrity of the people making decisions on your behalf. And you can't go wrong. Protect our environment, protect our children, make the next generation be able to have healthy choices that are easy to make. And yes, we want our best and brightest to remain, but we also want the best and brightest of other communities to want to locate in Brownsville. So good night and have a great evening and a weekend. Thank you.
I just want to make one comment. After you all are done with we'd like to do a group photo of you all. Okay, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you all for being here. Thank you to the Cameron County Democratic Women for hosting this forum. I know with the pandemic, it's been difficult to all of us get together. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm running for District 3 City Commissioner. Please, notice who is here in attendance. We have 3 candidates running and I am the only one here in attendance. It is not easy. It's difficult when we're getting questions from the audience because sometimes we don't have the answers as candidates. But you know what? I'm not promising you that I'll always have the answers, but I will work to find answers for you. And many times those answers will come from your experiences, from your knowledge. And I am here to listen to you, to be an active listener and take your ideas, your answers, your problems, and try to make them so that we can turn it around and make it work for you and your community and your neighborhoods and your family. That's why I'm here. Again, I'm a helper at heart. I know that there are a lot of things that we are very passionate about. SpaceX, Boca Chica Beach, gentrification, LNG, all of that. But at the end of the day, we're also interested in those things that we don't talk about as often. How are small businesses thriving? How are business owners who are trying to start businesses being treated? What's the customer service of the city to them, to us who are trying to fix our houses? Our parks and facilities, are they accessible to those with special needs, whether it's mental special needs or physical special needs? What is our city doing to help us recycle and get rid of all this plastic that after Election Day, there's going to be a ton of plastic. There's a ton of cardboard, paper, glass, metals. Where are we taking them? Are we just throwing them into our dump? What about all of these dead branches that we're just filling our dump with? Why are we not recycling them and turning them into mulch for the community? What about our 911 response time that is it's a little too long, especially for the citizens as you get further away from that police station? Do you know that just weeks ago we had 1 patrolman for the whole city of Brownsville from the hours of 10 p.m. to 4 a.m.? That should be shocking to a lot of us. I'm here to listen, communicate, and to be a doer for the people of the city of Brownsville and for the people of District 3. I ask I ask you from the bottom of my heart, go out and vote. Vote Jessica Puente Bradshaw for District 3. Tell your friends, neighbors, family, co-workers. Even if they're not in District 3, tell them to vote for me and they'll figure it out at the ballot. Thank you so much for all being here. I love Brownsville.
Thank you, Jessica. Gracias.
Well, I'm going to respond to the commissioner's comments because they were directed at me and my closing comments. I'll respond very, very quickly. Guys, I think most people that come to the forums and expect me to speak think that I'm going to be the one that's going to be offensive. I did not insult any of the commissioners directly. I said the commission as a whole has a vested interest in downtown. Then I made mention that the city of Brownsville has a vested in downtown. I made mention to things in regards to Commissioner Neese said that he has a business downtown, and the commissioner mentioned that she had a B&B where she was servicing individuals with SpaceX. That's all. I mean, it does show a lot of integrity to be calling someone ignorant and ridiculous, but that is okay. We understand how politics works. Let me say, guys, that there are a lot of other pressing issues that are more important, and one of them is representation, guys. And in regards to going out there and having a seat at the table with individuals, as Jessica mentioned, with SpaceX, that is why you vote individuals into office. You know, to reach out, to go talk to these individuals as to why, the whatnots, and what for. And a very small, quick example, guys. Boca Chica Boulevard there's median going straight through it, and if you would ask the commissioners, they're going to tell you exactly the same thing. It's TxDOT. It's not the city of Brownsville. Well, I think the city of Brownsville at this point is tired of excuses. It's tired of city commissioners that are okay with individuals from the state, from the county, or even private industry coming in and dictating to us what is right for the city of Brownsville. And I'm sorry, guys, we need commissioners out there going to fight for your rights, fight for your children, fight for your tax dollars, fight for business coming in, economic development. It's going everywhere else in the city of in the Rio Grande Valley. McAllen is seeing economic development. Edinburgh is seeing economic development. Harlingen, goodness gracious, Los Fresnos is seeing economic development. And we are still stagnant because we're out there with our hands out waiting to get grants, waiting to get monies from billionaires who don't give a rat's behind about the city of Brownsville. They really, really don't. And again, guys, we need individuals that are elected that will fight for your rights, will fight for the future of the city of Brownsville, but our future is leaving us, folks. Our children are going elsewhere to seek employment, and they're going to study out away from us. And once they get a decent paying job up in San Antonio, they are not coming back. They're not coming back. We want our children back. We want our grandchildren back. We want them to have access to what is theirs. And what is ours is Boca Chica Beach. And then they'll say, well, it's in Cameron County. No, it's our beach, folks. We have to assume responsibility for everything that is around us. They're all our wetlands, our environment, our animal, everything. We have to make sure that we take care of that which we're going to leave for our kids in the future. So no for gentrification, guys, and no to city commissioners that point fingers at everyone else and take absolutely no responsibility for their ineffection. Thank y'all, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Ballot.
Thank you. Once again, thank you everyone for making time to be here tonight, and to the Cameron County Democratic Women for hosting this event. I guess humans, we tend to forget things very easily, very quickly a lot of times. But 5-6 years ago, we made headlines, national headlines, as being the poorest part of the country. And here we are now, being pretty much in the center of this country, and now we're making headlines worldwide. And potentially, sounds like a joke, but maybe outside of Earth. We don't know what's going on out there, but I'm not interested in knowing what is really happening out there. I'm interested in what's happening in our city, and a lot of things are happening in our city, and I want to make Brownsville a better place. Change the image that everything is bad. Not everything is bad. Great things are happening, and greater things are going to happen. Our city really needs to come together. And it's not just the commissioner's job. It is the citizens as well. And it's also those citizens that are county commissioners and state representatives and all others that are in this town. We hear a lot of people. I have friends and family who are business owners, and we hear all the time how hard it is to open a business in Brownsville. Well, we probably need to streamline. I used to work at IBC Bank, and let me tell you, bankers trust people. They lend them money, sometimes thousands and millions, with tons of exceptions. They're taking a risk. We as a city, we need to take risk. We need to take risk because otherwise we're never going to get bigger and better. Ms. Puente mentioned a lot of things that are needed. So it's not just about space. So I am all about transparency. Um, people know they can go to the website, they can see where I live, who my family is, what I do for a living, and I don't have a problem with that. My phone number, it's out there, public domain already. Anybody can call me at any point in time. I am willing to be available whenever is needed, whenever is necessary, and pretty much I am ready to serve. I've done it before, and as an educator, let me tell you, we're all about service. We're out there for our students, for the community, and we are role models, whether we want it or not. I cannot comfortably go to a bar and have a drink and not really expecting a parent or a former student or even a current student see me out there. It happened to me at the beginning, and I learned the hard way. Never again. That was it. So I keep my life private, and when I'm an educator, I'm out there. And I know as a city commissioner, we represent the city 24/7. Wherever you go, wherever you're buying or having dinner, people know who you are. So I'm ready to take that responsibility. Thank you again for being here tonight.
Thank you, everyone. Really quickly, because I promised I would do this, Roy De Los Santos is running for District 3. He had prior commitment, so he sent a really long dissertation. But anyway, I'm just going to give you a quick, brief summary of what his platform is. Where is he?
He's not here.
Oh, no, they had prior commitments, so it wasn't like they just didn't show up because